today. So with that, I'll hand across to Tim, and he can bring it home with the V2X opportunities and issues. Thanks, Tim.
Hi, everyone. Good to be with you. So I'll go through this fairly quickly today. I'm talking about V2X. It's a huge topic, and so I'll try and fit it in within 8 minutes. Just a little bit about me. I'm the CEO of JetCharge. JetCharge has been around since about 2013. We're the largest EV charging infrastructure business in Australia. We're also a co-founder of ChargeFox, which is Australia's largest EV charging network, and I sit as the chair of the EV Council. So today I'm here to talk about vehicle to grid. Overall, as a context, the way we think about V2X at JetCharge is that it will enable what we call a second grid. And so the reason we call it a second grid is because, unlike almost everything else in life, the way we run our electricity grid at the moment is a series of monopolies. And so if you think about how we transport physical goods, by and large, almost everyone has access to roads and the ocean and the air with different providers. If you think about how we get digital goods, there are a variety of platforms in which we can get those digital goods. But if you want to get electrons and take electrons from point A to point B, there is currently almost just one way to do it, which is to transfer it across power lines. And across those power lines, it is all regulated by entities depending on jurisdiction. So, City Power, Powercore, Gemini, Ausgrid, they all own their own patch. And there's only one way from electrons to get from one to another. EVs change that. They basically allow you to move huge amounts of electricity from one location. So you can charge up at work using the large solar arrays at work. You can charge up at your local Woolies and Coles. And they're installing charging stations with every new store. They've got huge solar arrays. So you can charge up there, and then you can take it home and you can discharge it into your house and support your house with that. What you've done there is essentially take electrons from one location, move a huge amount, like 3 days work for your home, and take it home and power your house with it, bypassing the existing grid. And what that does is it complements the existing electricity grid in the delivery of electricity and makes our electricity grid more efficient. So we're really looking forward to that. And V2X has been around for a while. We chatted with basically the founder of V2X over in the US. They've been doing it for a long time. And how it started is something like this, right? On the left-hand side, a large clunky box, a science project, if you'd like. But how it's going is that they're starting to come in form factors with functionalities and ease to use that would be suitable for a typical home. And so what we're going to see over the next year or so is a number of providers coming into the market offering vehicle to home services, as well as some coming into the commercial market as well. So we're very excited about that. We're finally starting to see these things that are suitable for installation in homes that aren't fridges. There are still many vehicle to grid charging stations around the world that still resemble the one on the left-hand side, but I think they're kind of on their way out. So quickly, what is V2X? Bryce touched on this before. Essentially, there's a lot of complicated stuff that goes on behind the scenes, but it's the ability to extract electricity from your vehicle as well as pump electricity in. And so you hear V2X, and V2X just basically means vehicle to something. And you'll also hear terms like vehicle to home, vehicle to building, and vehicle to grid. At the end of the day, the terminology doesn't really matter that much. It is the function of drawing electricity out that is important. And the way to think about V2X is kind of, I guess, more big picture. To this day, we have been basically paying full price for an asset, being the vehicle, that we utilize only 5% of the time or 10% of the time. It's parked 90% of the time. And so what that means is that you're paying however much you're paying, 20, 30 grand or more for an asset that you only use 10% of the time. And we've been happy to pay for that. There aren't too many assets at that level that we do that for. What vehicle to grid will allow is that through the installation of a charging station, you're able to access the remaining 90% at almost no cost. So it's almost like that 90% is now free for you. And that co-benefit is one of the most exciting reasons why vehicle to grid, I think, will really take off in the future. Here's a bit of a timeline. Right now, vehicle to grid has already been established under the CHAdeMO protocol. So that's it works with the Nissan Leaf as well as with the Mitsubishi Outlander Exceed version. And basically, it's already happening around the world. We're involved in a big trial in the ACT using 51 vehicle to grid chargers for the Nissan Leaf. But as kind of Sam and Russ alluded to, CHAdeMO is still around, but it's on its way out. It's dominated by the CCS2 standard. And bidirectional charging for CCS2 is going to start in 2022, although the latest standard has been pushed out by a few more months. But they expect full commercialization by 2025. So what that means is that the first early adopter products will come onto the market in 2022, and then we expect it to be ubiquitous and common by 2025. And what does that mean? It means that when you go into a dealership and you want to buy an electric vehicle, it doesn't actually matter whether you intend to use it for V2X purposes. It will just come with that functionality. And so if you do choose to use it for V2X purposes down the road, you will be able to do that. You'll have this massive battery at home that you can gain access to. And certainly I can't wait for that to happen. But it's not all smooth sailing. And so most of my presentations on V2X, I tend to kind of not talk about the problems, but I think today it's important to point out some of the issues with V2X. Some of them will apply to you, others will apply to more commercial kind of things. The first is price. They're bloody expensive. At the moment, the price on the market is about 10 grand. Compare that to what a solar inverter looks like, and it is way too expensive. And there's a few reasons for that. One, it's new, so we all know prices come down over time as technology matures. There's not enough competitors, which is the second point. Availability is scarce. There aren't that many brands around the world who are offering this as a standard product. And in fact, the one that we're going to be selling into the market, Wallbox Quasar, globally is one of the first. And so it's one of those things where I think it just needs time to mature. Keep in mind that it's a lot more complicated than a solar inverter, and it has a plug that comes at the end of it. So it's never going to be as cheap as a solar inverter, but we hope that price can come down very quickly over the next 5 years. The third problem is that there's a clash of standards, and the AC and DC kind of standard is one of those examples. It's much cheaper for consumers if basically the capability for V2X is actually built into the vehicle, and then the box, you can use any AC charging station to offer the same function. That's cheapest for the consumer. The problem is that when you do that, the grid operators are nervous because it means that any AC charging station essentially can become a generator. And grid operators don't like that. And certainly in California, where this has been proposed and has been built into the Lucid Air, the Californian utility authorities have said, no, we're not going to allow that for now. And the last is that as we move towards a very fast frequency control market for grid services, sub 1 second, EVs simply cannot respond fast enough just yet. So it's more suitable for home applications and for general commercial applications and for slower grid support, but not sub 1 second, which is where the market is moving to. But anyway, we think it's very, very soon until vehicle to grid becomes ubiquitous over the next 5 years, and we're really looking forward to that day. So I hope you're looking forward to it too.